Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to my series of Fast and Furious reviews. And today I am reviewing Furious 7 starring Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, The Rock and Jason Statham. Decker Shaw seeks revenge against Dominic Toretto and his family for the murder of his brother. Now, this movie was actually really gripping for me. I really like the storyline in this movie. It juggles a lot. And yet it doesn't feel messy in really any places, which is crazy. And to talk about the elephant in the room, this is, as we all of us Fast and Furious fans know, that this is unfortunately the movie that Paul Walker wasn't able to finish before he passed away. And you can really feel that, especially during the final battle, or the final action scenes. Now, what I want to know is that, was this movie made as a goodbye to Brian, or was it kind of made a tagged on ending because of the stuff that happened behind the scenes? When movies come out at this point, there's also seems like this movie is very focused on Brian because of Paul Walker, really. Even more than the other movies, really. Like, even though that Dom has a very big role in this movie, like he does in every Fast and Furious movie, but something about this one is very Brian-centric. Like, stuff happens to Brian in this movie. And, like, he's the one, obviously, having a family at the end. And also, he is the one that actually gets the explosion happen to his house. And he is the one that actually goes into the truck and beats up the guys and has the whole the bus scene, where he's running on top of the bus to not go down a cliff. So, like, this movie seems very Brian-centric, even though that it probably just ended up the way that was because of Paul's death, unfortunately. But I'm kind of curious if that was their point all along, or they had a different route that they were taking. I will not be surprised if that was the point all along and they just tagged on the bit at the end for Paul, because Brian is still alive well in the universe. One of the things is that I really liked was Letty was still dealing with her memory loss and dealing with the amnesia like Harry Osborn in Spider-Man 3. And speaking of Letty, in this movie and the fourth movie even, Letty felt like the same character, but from 6 to now, she feels like a completely different character. And she is always worried and trying to remember things. I don't know, for some reason she felt like a completely different character now. I think that just might be the way that they've written her and the way that they actually are dealing with the PTSD and the amnesia and that sort of stuff in these later movies. Also, I think that one of the things that I like about this movie is the rivalry between Hobbs and Shaw in this movie that led to their other banter in Fate of the Furious, and then eventually gained Hobbs and Shaw, which is interesting. And I remember seeing, we'll talk about it when we get to Hobbs and Shaw, but I remember seeing that in the theatre and really liking it. So, another thing that I like about this movie is that this movie ties Tokyo Drift into the franchise, because Tokyo Drift was one of those movies that, like, it was connected, but not really, because, like, the ending of that movie, like, Dom shows up, Vin Diesel shows up for a cameo, but other than that, it was not really connected, really. They kind of made it connected when the fourth one came around and Hind was actually a part of Dom's crew. So I think that, because like, the thing is too, is that like, a lot of the movies would go like, the first movie, the second movie, then we'll go the fourth movie to the fifth movie, then the sixth movie, I think? No, I think I go 6 and then Tokyo Drift, then Fury 7 and then onward, I think. Cause this is also a movie that Gal Gadot doesn't appear in. It's not until that we get to Fast X that we'll talk about that, that she appears. But yeah, no, and I was shocked, it kind of shocks me that, Kurt Russell was actually in this franchise. Like, as soon as he appeared, I was like, holy crap, Kurt Russell's in this franchise? Like, I had no idea. I think that Paul Walker died around the time that they were shooting the final battle. And you can tell, because the way they shoot a lot of stuff from the back of his head, and there's only like 1 or 2 shots of his head because his bro's playing him. So I think it would have been very noticeable of him actually, like, how do I put it, like, of him jumping over and stuff. It would have been very obvious. But I do think that there is some good bits there. And I think it's just one of those things too, because like, no matter how much I see that last scene of Dom and Brian next to each other and driving off and looking at each other, and the See You Again song, like, that will always make me emotional. And I'm not big, like, I like Fast and Furious, but I don't love it as much as like my brother or his friends do, right? So like, when that happens, I actually feel teary-eyed because two of my favorite cases are literally Dom and Brian. I'm not a big fan of the second one, as you guys know, but I do think that one of the standouts is Paul Walker. I think that the only thing that hurts Too Fast, Too Furious for me is the fact that you had the Dom and Brian relationship in the first movie, then that's completely erased in the second movie, then it comes back in 4. But yeah, no, I actually really like that about it. I think I need to give Furious 7 a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is easily the best Fast and Furious movie so far for me. And it had some kick-ass moments with everyone involved. It made me care about what's going on. And the only thing that I have negative to say about it is that it was a little too long. But overall, I think that is the best one so far. So guys, please hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Subscribe us to the little bell icon, tick and notify future videos that I make. And I'll be back with more Fast and Furious reviews, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Subscribe to my channel, and also press this bell icon. Bitch on your stony, I do it out. Candy paint with the white on top. Lambo doors or the